So, what career should you pursue? This is like the most important question that you can ever answer in your life. And obviously, it's a little different for everybody, but I'll give you something that I think can unify and bring together the answers for you on that question for everybody. I mean, so obviously, I don't know your exact situation, but um, this advice is something somebody gave me a long time ago, and I think it'll apply to you on your career. Because if you don't get your career right, you're gonna hate most of your life. Most of our lives will be spent pursuing our career. It's just the way it goes. We don't grow our own food or build our own house anymore, so we have to exchange with other people, and that exchange is through money. And career is how you make your money. So, um, I first of all, point number one on what your career should be. The number one regret for most people is the career choice they make. So tread very carefully. Pursue this one, not just haphazardly and go, oh, well, my gut feeling says this, and then you spend your whole life pursuing a gut feeling that maybe had nothing to do with a real logical conclusion you should have made. So that's number one, is to avoid the regret by paying attention to this question. Now, in terms of answering the question, number two, think of it in a framework like this. You have the ability to pursue many things in the world, and that's where confusion comes from. Peter Drucker, the great business teacher, in his book Managing Oneself, says in the 1800s, this question was already answered for you. If you were born the son of a tailor, you'd be a tailor. The son of a butcher, you'd be a butcher. The son of a wheel maker, you would be a wheel maker. But now, in this world we live in now, you have infinite choice, which in a way would seem to be a much better world to live in, but in another sense, it is the cause of all the confusion, because when you have too many choices, there's that famous book by, I think, Barry Schwartz, which says the paradox of choice. More choice doesn't always mean happier lives, just because we all get that FOMO, fear of missing out. So if you pursue this, and then your friends doing another career, and you're like, wait a second, that might have been the one I should have pursued. So people it's easy to go crazy. So with that in mind, then you're left with this question of what is a framework that will, a lot of helicopters coming by, no idea why, but they're always buzzing around here. That leads you to the third thing, which is what I really want to talk about, which is career can be looked at as a finite, specific thing, like I'm a doctor, or I am a auto mechanic, or whatever you might be interested in, and that's important to have. But it's also important to have a zoomed out perspective of your career. So as opposed to just going, this is my specific thing, because specific things change over time. You might get bored of it. It might become irrelevant in the future technologically advanced society you and I are going to live in. But if you have a zoomed out version, and my zoomed out suggested for you is what I call the investor. So investors, you could be an investor in anything. So you could be an auto mechanic / investor. You could be a school teacher / investor. You could be a fitness pro, personal trainer / investor. So when you add this / investor to it, it changes the whole game, because what I mean by that is investor is a mindset, not a specific occupation. And it's a mindset that can be applied to any business that you want. Anyone. So why would you want to add investor, aka, / investor, to whatever career you end up pursuing? And the reason is that mentality makes the most money. If you look on the Forbes list of the wealthiest people on planet Earth, you look at the self-made, not the people inherited, investors, there's double the investors on the Forbes 400 than any other specific industry, more than tech, more than real estate, more than, sports, and more than oil and gas. And so when you apply the investor framework to the tag of whatever specific career you think you want to pursue, all of a sudden you get a huge potential to make a hell of a lot more money than the average person in that career, and to do it with more freedom, more enjoyment, and more fulfillment. How would you do that in reality? An investor is somebody at the most basic, well, I should say what it's not. It's not somebody who just invests in the stock market. It's not somebody who just invests in real estate. That's a common misconception. To me, the word investor implies somebody who postpones present pleasure for future payouts. That's the fundamental, and that's why most people are never investors. The average person can't even save more than they say in the US around 2%. So for every $100 they make, the average person struggles to save even $2. They spend 98 of it with a consumer mentality. And consumer is the opposite of investor. Now, I'm not saying you can't ever consume. You will need to consume. But let me just think of a random occupation. I'm an entrepreneur, so I'll pick something entrepreneur. Let's say you're a personal fitness trainer, okay? So you go into it, everybody else goes into it just thinking, I'm a personal trainer. You go into it saying, I'm a trainer/investor. What does an investor do every day? Well, first of all, an investor postpones some present pleasure. So while everybody else just jumps out of bed and jumps right into their career, okay, right, like animalistically, what's in front of their eyes, they pursue that. You take a step back and read a book. I recommend you at least read a book a week. That's investments in your own brain. Now, you could ideally pick some books related to your career, in this case, personal fitness trainer, and there you go. Something simple like that has you being a mental investor in the mental side of what it takes to pursue your career. And it's not as fun. Some people struggle with reading. I don't know about you. You might not like it. Number two, invest some of your time maybe going to the top conferences around the world related to fitness. Invest some of your time in finding a mentor who's 20 years ahead of you in the fitness game. I just had Tony Horton here. He started P90X and Beachbody. He did $950 million in revenue last year. That's an investment that you make of your time. You could be doing something more fun. You could be on Netflix. You could be playing video games. You could be out with your friends, but you're postponing present pleasure for a future benefit as an investor. And then ideally, as you make money as a personal trainer, don't spend all that money, but double down on what's working and making you money and invest that money back into your fitness practice, growing it, expanding it, marketing it, building a better website, making sure it's mobile optimized, building better landing pages, hiring staff. You're not really an entrepreneur until you got 10 employees, in my opinion. So that will take an investment. You could have spent that money on present pleasure. And you can apply this to anything from auto mechanic to teacher to you can apply it to any 9-to-5 job, and you can definitely apply it to all you watching who are entrepreneurs. So I always say I'm an entrepreneur investor. And that framework, whenever I apply it, boosts not only my income, but my satisfaction in the long run. It gives me peace of mind knowing that while the specifics of my career might be changing, this investor will stay stable, this mentality, and I'll never lose that, or I'll never abandon that and move on to some shinier object. So how can you apply this to what you're doing? You could be a student, you could be 80 years old. Investors win. Investors win in all forms of winning. They win in terms of fulfillment, because the human brain is fulfilled when it's growing its knowledge base. We know that. Little kids, you leave them around Legos, they start building them. Humans are made to improve. That's in the core of our DNA, to improve the situation. An investor improves the situation, their situation and the world at large. You'll be a hell of a lot further along the game in terms of mastery. And it's important to master your career. I'll play a little basketball while we talk. Damn, I left the lights on last night. Oops. You'll make a lot more money. Investors, like I said, have been proven, you can look at the statistics yourself, to just make a lot more money, because how else could it be? If you pursue long-term pleasure instead of always pursuing the moment, and the whole crowd is doing the opposite, the world will reward you. So that's my 2 cents today. What is your potential application of this investor mentality for your career? Let me know. Leave a little comment below. Leave a survey. And I'll be posting more on this on my Snapchat. It's Tai Lopez and the number 1. And on my Instagram, that's at Tai Lopez. Talk to you soon. I'm gonna go play some ball.